think we're talking enough that we should put it in a podcast again. And then you got the camera, and here we are.
We were some fresh-faced boys.
Yes.
And
You didn't have the
more
curls.
hair on my beard and none of it on my head.
It felt like an adventure.
I can hear the music playing in my head.
Hello there. Welcome everyone to a new episode of The X Button. I am one of your hosts, Alejandro, and with me is the Fallen Jedi.
Paul, hey everybody, how's it going?
Paul, how are you feeling after that Obi-Wan finale?
Well, it might have just been like right in that golden zone of being really tired from cleaning up an accident that my puppy had. But it made me emotional, and
Right.
it was very powerful, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. I kind of want to go back and watch it again.
Yeah, the entire thing, now all together. I kind of want to see it like from beginning to end.
I don't know if I want to do that right now, but definitely the last episode.
Yeah, I think it's like a 3-hour total thing based on like the minutes, because you have to like not count the very long credits near the end of most episodes. So
Yeah, good point.
it was still like a big movie, but I watched that thing at 1 a.m. yesterday. I decided again after I didn't want after the 4th episode, and I tell you, I was bawling.
It was
Yeah.
it was strong seeing. I will not spoil it for anybody. There is a point where Ewan McGregor is a close up on his face,
Mhm.
and there's like literal tears actually in his eyes, and you could just see the emotion in his face, and I'm just like, ah.
I tell you, it's like for us prequel kids, these last 2 episodes were the episodes. I think that's it justified, because obviously prequels is like very divisive topic. I don't think as divisive as the sequels nowadays, but it's still like there's some people with sour grapes over it.
Yeah.
But as that we grew up on that, I feel like those last 2 episodes kind of like justify our love of us growing up with these movies and seeing the level of acting there. Because I'll say, as uneven as the show was, I really wanted the show to be like 10 out of 10 in its entirety. It had its ups and downs. I'll take the emotion that I was given in this last 2, the grin-inducing emotion, because it played out on that love that I always had with Star Wars growing up in that era. So
All I'll say is that of the many problems that they had in the prequels, casting was not one of them.
not at all. And more than anything,
That's
I
all
feel
I'll
this
say.
is like a redemption story for Hayden Christensen, because the 2 times that we got to see him, spoiler alert, without really seeing how, it's like I feel it was the best acting he's given, which is again a reminder that it was not the problems with acting and writing for the prequels were not the actors. That was George Lucas.
and directing for sure.
Exactly. So it was good to be reminded that these actors really had it, and I'm happy for Hayden, because
Absolutely, because they both looked like they had so much fun doing it. But anyway, this is a video game podcast.
exactly. This is a video game podcast, but because we don't have like a place to talk about this, I need to throw it out
I
there,
know.
because
we had to vent after that. That was traumatic experiences, that's for sure.
Absolutely. But yeah, this is the X Button podcast, our gaming podcast that posts usually every Wednesday from 2 p.m. onwards, God willing. It's been a little even kill of where it's been posting because of the Summer Gamesfest stuff, so we've been like shifting the schedule for a little bit, but it's available on the YouTube channel Escape Media, as well as most audio services around the world, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the like. You can find links and the RSS feed at anchor.fm/escape-media. If you enjoy our show, give us a like and subscribe. And remember, we will update you when we eventually move the posting date. It's still in the works. So, Paul, without much preamble, what have you been playing? From what I see, you've been playing a lot.
Yeah, I jumped around a lot. I'm going to start backwards like I usually do. So I started off, partially backwards. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. I downloaded that one again because I was like, I'm feeling in a bit of a Castlevania mood. Let me see what the
Now,
deal
do
is.
you see that there was like something the news saying that game had an update for this year? Yeah.
That's what I wanted to understand, how to get to that content, because you can now play as the character from like Child of Light, and they had new like DLC weapons and like extra stuff going on, and I didn't really try too hard to like find any of it. I was just like, let me see if it'll like notify me or get back into the flow of things, and I couldn't. It is the problems that I realized that I'm having with that game is that while there are barriers, at least in the old Castlevania games, it gives you a solid barrier within that room you're in to know where you can get to, but the rooms in Bloodstained are so large that it'll just have like gaps where it looks like you can get to it because there's no barrier, but when you go to the game, there's like a giant barrier for you to get through, and I'm like, why isn't this in the map to tell me that I can't go here? So I just like ran around a little bit trying to see if I can get to some of the new areas, and I just couldn't figure out where I could go, because in normal, even Metroid, you can just kind of get to places unless you can't, and if you can't, you know why. This is like,
you don't have this, you don't have this item, you don't have like, you're not supposed to be here right now, like,
but you'll kind of like know based on the rules of the game what you need to get back there, and this is just like, no, there's just a wall here that like you can see more above you, but there's something stopping you and you can't get through it. So that was like kind of frustrating. But then I had a much better experience downloading Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, which for anybody that doesn't know was like a very NES style spin-off game involving the rival character of Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, and that was way better by far.
Because that's straight up Castlevania.
It's literally Castlevania. It had all of the 2D style. It had just like this so much charm in every action and movement, but like everything was super responsive. They had a casual mode baked into it from the start. They had like the regular, they had like a classic mode that gives you like all the old mechanics, and then they had a casual that it's like, all right, you don't get pushback when you get damaged, so like if you get hit by one thing, you don't just go off the cliff and die. And it gives you unlimited lives, and there are
have you tried those old Castlevania? Because there's the Castlevania collection from like the old ones. Those things are tough.
If I didn't have the ability to rewind time in all of them, I think I would hate them a lot more. But this was like, it proves that you can really make something for everybody, and then people can just really enjoy the feel, the atmosphere, the fun gameplay, and it's so focused because it's just a mostly linear process that you're just going through like old school Castlevania. You don't have to worry about getting lost like in Symphony of the Night and all the recent ones that are like, we're gonna make things as confusing as possible.
Yeah, Curse of the Moon is basically a 2D platformer.
Yeah, and so I enjoyed the heck out of it. And then there was a second one apparently, so I downloaded both those because they were on sale, but I haven't played the second quite yet. Technically I did this morning, but I was so tired I don't remember anything. Then I played a little bit of BioShock Infinite.
So it's finally time for your yearly playthrough?
Sort of. So I played through part of it earlier this year, and then I took a break from it, and with all the stuff that I kept like trying to play and just losing steam on it, I was like, let me see if there's just a problem with me playing games, or if it's just a certain kind of game that I'm starting to get burnt out on. And I am happy to say that it's not just gaming in general, because walking back into BioShock Infinite, it's like you always say, it's like walking into a warm, comforting blanket. Yeah,
sometimes you need that. You need to go back to the comfort if you're not feeling something, and then having that comfort recharge you to then try other stuff.
And it was so nice to just enjoy the pastel colors, the feel of the combat, just blasting through a few enemies and a few missions.
I almost consider going back to that game, but I ended up going to a different game in that same genre. I'll talk about it a little later.
We're gonna talk about that. But yeah, that's basically what I did. I didn't play too long of it. I love stepping back into that briefly.
Now, what brought you back to play Mad Max?
That was, I realized that so many of the games that I've been playing lately have not had vehicles in them. And I was like, there's a real sweet spot that I have with the ability to drive a car in any video game, because as we've kind of discussed, I love driving vehicles, especially in games that are mostly about something else, but they give you the ability to travel yourself, because I love breaking the car systems and I love just the feel of driving. And I happened to see that was like advertised randomly. One of the little featured things was like, Mad Max PS4 still exists, guys. And I was like, you know what? I enjoy driving in that game. I'm going to just pop it in and see what happened.
I fully played it in 2019, if I remember correctly, or was it 2018? It was one of those two.
Whenever it came out.
Yeah. No, it came out in 2015. It came out the same day
as... that's right. It did come out a long time ago.
Yeah, that game came out...
Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah, those were the two games, and me being the Metal Gear guy, I went for Metal Gear, obviously.
Absolutely, yeah.
And even though I think parts of Mad Max are better than Metal Gear 5, which is interesting.
Of the game specifically, absolutely.
Yeah, because
people slept on this game, but I have the same reaction that I did when I first played the first Dying Light, and that was nobody's playing this game and it's actually really fun.
Actually, in Dying Light is actually more people played it than given credit for, because there was no one at that time, because there was nothing out, so everyone was like, we want a new game, and Dying Light was there and it shocked people. So but Mad Max was slept on because it came out the same day as Metal Gear.
Yeah, and obviously everyone who had a PlayStation Plus membership got access to this, and it's just fun. It's so like easy to pick up and play. It's got the Arkham combat system, which I just love. Didn't even need to change anything, and I'm not even mad about it. I'm like, just let me do this.
Yeah, you know what's a missed opportunity for that Mad Max, especially because it also had Arkham combat? It's crazy to me that another game from the WB Games banner, which this was under, didn't take the Nemesis system.
That would have been so perfect.
This would have been great for this.
The aesthetic of Mad Max. Oh, that would have been fantastic. But honestly, I like to think this is one of the last like sort of licensed games out there, because it borrows so heavily from Fury Road that it's basically just it's in that universe basically. Yeah.
And I feel this game also has the what I recently loved about Assassin's Creed Origins, it being an open world in a desert with so much open space. I feel it just gives you some time to breathe in and just take it all in. And in that you have the buggy cars going.
Yeah, and there's always something to do. Like the 30-second rule is alive and well, because there's always like a tower, there's a convoy, there's one random car driving around, there's things to pick up. So even though it's like a vast open desert where you think that would be really terrible, it actually works pretty well.
So fun fact, the sequel, quote unquote, to this game is Rage 2. These guys made Rage 2.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know why I bounced off of Rage as a series. Maybe it's the star power of that. I know it's Mad Max or something that I liked it so much, but man, that's gonna make me have to take another look at Rage 2. But
it's improved on PS5, so
we'll see. But yeah, that's actually a good point you mentioned, because Mad Max PS4 is very muddy. They have made no improvements over it, so it's a little rough to look at. But it was like one of those, you know what, I'm just gonna play the game that's not considered like a grand masterpiece right now and just reset my
and that's the thing, there's barely any grand masterpiece. This is the majority of the games, so it's good.
And it's just like, I don't know, I had to step back from all the games that I'm looking for the next masterpiece once again, like we were talking about, and it was nice to play, and it was really fun. So if you haven't played Mad Max PS4, go check it out. Just don't take it too seriously.
Yeah. So did the Square Enix presentation last week bring you back to Final Fantasy VII Remake?
For the most part, I was in the middle of my next playthrough of it, trying to get through the PS5 version, and I got through. I started off, I don't know if you remember, there was that mini game puzzle area where you had to turn off those big lamps, and I was in the middle of that, so turning it back on, I'm like, where do I go? That was a terrifying moment, because I was like, oh gosh, I'm gonna rage quit, and then thank God somebody decided to have the dialogue like mention where we needed to go, and I was like, thank you, Tifa, for telling me exactly what I need to do, because I forgot. And they're like, we need to go to H01, and I was like, okay, sign there, okay, let's go that way. And I got through, having fun with the combat, ton of fun, still gorgeous.
Play Yuffie.
I don't like Yuffie.
That's the thing, like
Yuffie.
It will make you like it, and it's important for what's coming. So.
I wish listed it, so if it goes on sale again, I'm gonna pick it up just to like have the completion side of it, because I know I'm gonna have to know that for Rebirth now.
Yeah, and not only that, it's like it makes people like Yuffie, because Yuffie is universally not anyone's favorite character at all from that thing, but in classic Final Fantasy VII Remake fashion, they flesh it out enough that makes you like people that you wouldn't have liked in the original. So play Yuffie.
Point. All right, fine. fine. I will see if I can in the future. But then something that I didn't realize was actually very similar to Final Fantasy VII Remake was Tales of Arise.
Yeah, but you finally played the demo.
Yeah, I played the demo. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would based on your reaction to it. And then I was like, all right, fine, we'll pick it up because it was on sale. So we split it, downloaded it, started it up. And it's a looker in like the most stylistic way.
Yeah, that was my favorite thing about it when I played it.
It's so colorful. It's so cool to look at. It's got like some of the anime BS, but thank God not nearly as much as something like Scarlet Nexus, where it's just like menu after menu. It just kind of diegetically explains things. And I'm actually really glad I spent time on the demo, because by the time it was trying to teach me all the fundamentals, I could skip through it because I was like, I know how this works already. I'm good. And I realized the flow for those combos that we were talking about, and it's like diet combos.
Exactly.
So
it wasn't the action combat that it's like Devil May Cry, even Scarlet Nexus, that's a little bit more actiony, but you can link some stuff. The
fact
RPG
that I could link
fashion.
it was really nice, because I could do my 3-hit combo, move into one move, more combos, hit another move, call in my buddy to do an attack. And I don't know, it was like, I felt like I could turn my brain off just enough to be like, oh, this is nice. Yeah, I don't have to worry about.
Yeah, this is a game I'm going to be playing on easy precisely for that.
I'd put it on easy as well, because I'm like, I just want to get through this cool story, because honestly, it looks like it has a really cool story. Honestly,
especially I think it's the look. It's like I've said it before. I feel anime style games is kind of like what penetrates my mind more than actual anime. Yeah. And I think this is one of those games.
I think this is, I agree. Where we were talking briefly about any like the Naruto games and Scarlet Nexus and some of the other stuff going on. I think this is the one that's going to be the anime game that we can both enjoy. Yeah.
And one YouTuber that I follow, Mr. Matty Plays, he's a very big weeb also. But he mentions he mentions that one thing he appreciates with Tales of Arise is that it's not full of fan service stuff that can be that can be very off-putting from some anime.
I was worried they would like jump into that immediately, and I'm waiting for there to be some kind of beach mission where everyone's in swimsuits or something, but there is DLC apparently of that, and I knew there would be, but thank God it doesn't seem forced on us yet, and everybody seems pretty reserved in that department.
Now, just quick question, just as a tangent, have you been like watching any anime sometimes that then a very fan servicey / disturbing thing happens and Elizabeth just happens to turn?
I specifically do not watch anime around her for that exact reason, because I know that I have no control over just a random thing happening. And it does not help that if I'm watching something with subs, every woman character sounds like some very suggestive stuff is going on when she talks. So I usually watch things in dub if I do, and then if I watch anything, it's got to be like, I know that there's not going to be fan service in it.
Yeah, because there's always the bad luck that if you're watching anime, like especially
it used to happen all the time.
It's like it's always like when someone just happens to look at the exact worst time.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And I can only imagine what would have happened if I was watching the Berserk Golden Age movies right at the end, at the parts.
Dude, that happens to me for just live action stuff. I was watching the first Terminator, and all of my friends got home from something in the middle of that sex scene during the first Terminator, and it was so awkward. So yeah, that seems to happen. So I just avoid that as much as possible. But anyway, so Tales of Arise, enjoying the heck out of it, and I really was liking that it's a lot like Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah.
Last thing.
And Paul, finally, with almost 3 days to go before it's February, March, April, May, 5-month anniversary, you finally beat Elden Ring. Yeah.
Oh.
And I feel pride that I think me and Zach goaded you into it because he also beat it.
Yeah. When Zach beat it, I was like, oh crap, I really do need to beat this or I'm gonna just never hear the end of it. So I could talk a lot about it. I'll just like briefly summarize what I had to actually do. I was literally at the end boss. Everybody listening.
Radagon / the Elden Beast.
And I just couldn't touch him. And Zach pointed out that the Bloodhound Step, which is basically a teleport move that you can attach to your weapon, was really useful. And I don't think I would have beaten the Elden Beast without it.
And I hate that I never got it. It's insane just hearing about it and be like, I beat Mulaney, I beat the Elden Beast without the Bloodhound Step. And I had the Bloodhound Fang. That was like my big weapon before switching to katanas.
I'm a little mad that I had to step away from my favorite sword to do it, because some of the weapons automatically have a weapon art attached to it and you can't get rid of it.
Yeah, Bloodhound Fang is that. You can't attach weapon art.
So that's the only problem, is you'll have to choose a weapon that you can actually list. You can set it aside for that. Fortunately, I had a great sword that I was using before that, which was already like super powerful anyway. So I just jacked up the upgrades for it even more, because I've been saving up upgrades. Put the Bloodhound Step on it, and then went to town. Anyway, for both Radagon and Elden Beast, but because I'd been so long going through it, I really struggled just even getting back to that point again.
Oh yeah, it's like Souls games that's why, like, when I was doing the Souls games, when I was in that phase of my life this year, I couldn't step away, because I knew Souls games, you can't just jump back in.
I think it's a catch-22, because if I hadn't taken such a long break from it, I think it would have hurt my view of the game more, and I probably would have just given up entirely on it. So I'm kind of glad that I took such a long break, but I do wish that it was easier to just step back in. However, Elden Ring, of all things, is definitely the one FromSoft game that you can step away from and ease back in, because you can go through the entirety of the free roam area. Yeah,
it's freedom. It's like that's why I didn't have a problem at all going back to it after Dark Souls 1.
Yeah.
And because I was, if you remember earlier this year, I was like 3 weeks deep into Dark Souls 1.
It actually made me sad that I had so little to go back to. I mean, I can like technically go do other dungeons and stuff, but I was like, I finished it, and then I was playing Tales of Arise. I was like, gosh, I kind of want to play Elden Ring a little bit more.
No, that's what's so funny, because I hated fighting the Elden Beast, even though I beat it the same day that I got there. But then after a little bit, I was like, I want to keep being there. It's like Elden Ring is just so alluring that way. It's like, even if it makes you hate your guts, but it's like, and I did that thing that I sped run at least through the first few bosses again in New Game Plus, and it was so satisfying.
Yeah. So. I wish, because there's not really a way you can split the files, is there? Like, once you decide. See, I wish there was a way to do that. You could just go back to your old save.
Do this. Plug in a USB, put and save your save there.
That's too much work. Yeah. I refuse. I also don't have any USBs that I would have to like reformat it to let it do stuff like that. But anyway, Elden Beast is so stupid. I hate it.
No, and that's the thing, is what I said, is like, I feel the Elden Beast, what I hate is that it feels like there's only one specific way to properly fight that if you're like I'm glad that this game lets you respect as long as you have the larva tears. But
if I didn't, I think that would have made it even worse, because the bosses are just not very well designed for the most part, and the Elden Beast is easily the worst of them.
And now the consensus has come. It is the worst final boss of any Souls game ever.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
I was really wishing, because they kind of kept to this one thing where almost all the final bosses are mostly humanoid, to avoid those problems that something like the Elden Beast creates with the camera issues, the lock-on, the weird hitbox,
the AOE attack, the
AOE. Oh my gosh! Like, you don't know where the hitbox for that fire is at all until all of a sudden you're dead from it, and. Yeah, that's exactly why I think they always kept to a more humanoid boss, because it was intimate, it was intense, and they could very easily control what hits you and what doesn't. And for whatever reason, they just decided not to do that. So that sucks, and I don't like that. They need to fix that eventually.
Yeah,
but at least
whenever
I'm
they do a
done with
sequel.
it. And my goodness,
now I think. What I'm glad that you finally finished it, because I have a very strong feeling that this could be your number one game of this year when all is said and done. Now you'll be able, it's like, at least if you ended up putting it in number one, unless something else comes that surprises you more and you like more, at least now you can put it and be like, I actually finished this, instead of what happened last time with the game of the year. So
Right, which I mean, we talked about it. I think eventually, in hindsight, that what I could have picked could have worked because the PS5 version of Final Fantasy VII Remake came out in that year. However, I didn't beat that version of
exactly,
it.
yeah. So it would have been the same thing. But
if I had beat Kena Bridge of Spirits, I think that would have ended up going there. I think I said that on record.
Yeah, I think in our chat you said it that you would have loved that, and I understand why you didn't finish it in a way, because it took me a while to finish it. Also, considering how short it was, because I didn't want it to end. Also.
Exactly. That was like one of those few times where I actually had the restraint so that I could enjoy something like that.
But I also feel that if you had finished it, you wouldn't have put it as number one, because the ending is BS. It's very hard.
The final boss was a pain, but I truly don't remember having that much trouble on it.
You put it on easy, right?
I thought didn't I beat it on normal?
No,
I don't know.
I think you lowered it to easy because the final boss was a complete pain, because you lose all your rots. So there's no like easy way to like attack them unless you're perfect in parrying. So
it's been so long that I don't even remember anymore. But I could have sworn I managed to tough it out on just normal, but I didn't go any higher than that. But who knows? Anyway,
I'll check the trophies just to make sure you beat it again. Because
were there trophies for each difficulty though?
Yeah.
Okay, so then that'll.
That's why I will never platinum it, because you have to like play to platinum that game. You have to go in the hardest difficulty that unlocks after you beat it. So, and I don't feel that game as amazing as great as it was in so many parts. I don't think the combat, specifically being able to parry, it's tuned well enough that I would tolerate going to a much harder difficulty. So
definitely not. But
it makes me appreciate Souls games more, because at least Elden Beast aside, I feel it's tuned in a way that makes overcoming them still feel right.
I would say it is for Sekiro, but the parrying for many of the rest is
no. Oh no.
But at least the rest of the game is really good. So
I'm just glad you finally finished it halfway through the year. It's like it's done. You deleted it from your console. Go back to Horizon. Just mainline through it.
Every time I try to mainline it, though, I don't feel the connection to any of the characters.
Because you keep
Tales
getting
of
away.
Arise has gotten me more invested in the characters than Horizon has. I'm gonna say it.
That's fair.
It's just,
and also because your connection to the characters come from the side quests, so I understand why you're not connected. So.
Exactly. It's like it's a catch-22. If I mainline it, I don't care about the characters, and if I don't care about the characters, I struggle to finish the game. But
that's always your problem. Yeah, that'll be another thing, and that's always going to be a problem with you with Horizon. That is like it's never a game that you can just dedicate your time to.
Yeah.
If it was, you would have been able to do that, but it is what it is. Still, my favorite game this year. Speaking of what you can
dedicate your time to, what have you been playing?
I sure dedicated a lot of time to finish everything from Assassin's Creed Origins. I finished the Curse of the Pharaohs DLC, and I'll say this: that DLC was a whiff, and it breaks my heart because there's some shockingly great imagery in that DLC. I posted a couple pictures in our group chat. Some like some really otherworldly deserts. How they like embrace the mystic side of Egyptian mythology. It's kind of cool. Unfortunately, that DLC amounts to nothing, and that's probably my biggest problem with it. Like, it doesn't even have credits that roll. There's like no, like it just stops. It doesn't even have like an ending. Once like you finish the final quest, you get like a tiny cutscene that seems like closure, but it felt like you were heading to closure based on how a conversation was going, and then that's it. And I was like, what? Wait, what?
Is there not some kind of other like separate mission, like a Red Dead Redemption kind of thing?
No, I want to look it up. And a big criticism of that DLC is that they don't give you that, because obviously Red Dead had that like
weird
that when you switch the character near the end of the original Red Dead, doesn't give you credits. So you're like, is this it? But then if you explore, you find that one final side mission that it's an actual main quest that ends the game. Yeah, and it's so cool. But they didn't do that for this, especially because the hidden ones, the first DLC that's more grounded and it's an immediate follow-up to the main game, felt like a more fitting epilogue for the story of Bayek and Naya, because it was like the whole thing with Origins. The main point of Origins is that you eventually establish the Assassin Order.
Yeah,
and but you don't get to interact with the order. It's like as soon as it's established, the game ends and you're in the world. If you want to conclude the side quest and all that, there's like a store within in the assassin burrow that you open that has like some cool gear, but there's no meaningful assassin order stuff in the main game, but it is in the hidden ones when you go to Sinai.
Okay.
To Mount Sinai, which has some really cool imagery also, and has a great coda for like where the assassin order goes from there, that I felt was a better ending than the Curse of the Pharaohs DLC. I wouldn't be as hard on it had I not played Fate of Atlantis, which was the mystical side of ancient Greece in Odyssey, and on top of that felt vital to understanding the origins of the first civilization, and kind of gave you an idea of where the main character from modern times that you play, Layla, was going. There was none of that in Curse of the Pharaohs, and I wonder if they did it because they're like, this is like too out there, let's not make it vital, it's just gonna be like a fun thing. But considering that I got more closure out of my character in Odyssey than I did this, it's kind of sad because Bayek in Origins is behind Ezio now for me as like the best protagonist this series has ever had.
Oh, he's the second best.
Second best. Like
wow.
Ezio's still the number one, but getting to play Origins and seeing so much of the side quest and how much it thematically ties it into his role as a Medjay of Egypt, and how it's all like a quest for him to move on from the failure of him losing his son, and seeing so many side quests that ended up tying thematically and how he was like letting go of that as he was completing this revenge tale, and how that revenge tale basically cost him his marriage with Aya because they decided to like let go of connection to create Assassin Order. It's like the story of Origins is really good. Like it's much better in as a main story, and having all the supplementary material kind of add to it than I gave it credit for, especially because Odyssey is very sprawling because there's like so many mainline threads. There's like 3 main campaigns basically in Odyssey in comparison. So yeah, it's like if you still want to play Origins, it's on Xbox Game Pass if you're on Xbox, and if you want to play the DLC, just play the first one. Play Curse of the Pharaohs if you're curious, but I tell you, there's some BS in that DLC also there, because you fight mummified pharaohs as boss fights, and those boss fights suck. They're like, they wanted to do Dark Souls style boss fights, but
I'm sorry, my dog is like squeaking this pig that's making pig noises.
Oh no.
Can you hear it at all?
Yeah, I can hear it now.
Okay.
Oh god, I bet the dog is not doing another stuff with the pig, right?
He's chewing on it. It's a big old chew toy and makes a squeaky noise when he bites
now that
into it.
Now you mentioned it, I can't stop hearing it.
Okay.
But it's like those boss fights, I tell you, it's like Ubisoft wanting to do Dark Souls but doing it wrong. Like your attacks do very little damage, but the bosses can one-hit kill you if you're not if you're not ready, and if you're not like well equipped, or if you're not good with the dodge. You can be like spending like 10 minutes whittling down the health. You're at this, and then they hit you once and they do like a chain attack that completely eliminates your health, and then you have to restart. And I tell you, it's like that thing made me rage. I even put it in our chat in explicit language. But yeah, I'm glad that I still, as an overall package, I'm not gonna put Curse of the Pharaohs against Origins itself. To me, it's just sad that my last taste of this game is that, because I had a fantastic time playing it. And since that was my next open world after I did like 2 open worlds before it with Forbidden West and Elden Ring, shocking that I was able to do 3 of that. I needed to change a little bit of the pace. Ironically, my brother reinstalled Modern Warfare, the 2019 one, on my PS5, because apparently there's something you can do with the multiplayer that you can glitch if you're in the PC version and join a multiplayer match in the PS5 version. It would unlock all the camos automatically. So he wanted to do that. And then out of curiosity, I went back to like, because you can press the R3 to check like the packs you can install, because that game is like divided in different packs. And I noticed that the campaign pack had been whittled down to 1. I was like, wait, what? Where did pack 2 and 3 go? Because there's like the different packs, and you have to download the compatibility pack. That game is just a massive file management. Apparently,
the closest thing I've gotten to like the frustration of PC stuff.
Yeah.
With like installations.
Absolutely, yeah. It's and it's insane, and that's because they didn't want to compress their files. It's very responsible. However, they compressed the campaign. They added new files called campaign/spec ops pack remastered and campaign pack remastered. I was like, wait, what? So what they did is that now you can like, it only takes 31 gigs to download the campaign. Obviously, you still have to download Warzone, which is like a 90 to 100 gigabyte file. I still hate that they made Warzone the base file for that thing and completely ruined anyone that just want to like play the other packages of Modern Warfare without having to clog their hard drive. So I was like, okay, I want to see this remastered thing. And I downloaded it. And what they did is that they started doing this high texture pack that like you could download separately.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it's all been compressed now into like the files you can download. So you already get the high res pack. So the game technically now looks a little better.
Okay.
They still somehow went to the went to the effort of remastering these packs, and they haven't fixed the cutscenes in the campaign.
That sucks.
It really sucks because at first, because I remember it started at the beginning, when you see like that guy with like the caterers with the beard, the wolf, the big terrorist at the beginning.
Before, yeah.
That's when it started chugging, and then when I saw it, I was like, oh, did they fix this? It didn't stutter. And I kept playing, and then right in queue when Deborah Wilson shows up after like the first mission, that's when it stutters, and then the cutscene like loses sync, and it's like, dang it.
Yeah,
those cutscenes look so great, and it sucks that
some of the best work I've ever seen.
Yeah, and it sucks that at least on P, because I heard the Xbox doesn't have this problem. It's on PS5 only that there's this problem, and really? I don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand why there's that problem with the cutscenes. So
if there's anything I've learned about game development lately, it's that the coding for this crap is absolutely ludicrous, and the fact that somebody can actually make that code turn into something fun to play is a bit ridiculous. So I can kind of understand how one version just doesn't work right because one tiny piece is out of place, but it still sucks.
Yeah, to me it's like it's more disappointing considering that I know they finally went back to the campaign files to compress them.
Yeah,
that's it. So that I would have thought maybe this is the because I understood why they didn't touch it before, because they were all in on Warzone and the multiplayer and all that. That's the bread and butter, not the one and done campaign. So that was an extra kick in the balls. Basically, I was like, oh man, you blue balled me right now here. You gave me the hope that you went back and finally made the campaign a much easier download, to then see that you still haven't fixed the one glaring problem that's happening in this console. But it is what it is. And then I played through that I put it on easy because I was like, okay, I have it here. I might as well play through it again. Just
at least the gameplay is working all right?
No, game like inside the game, that game works flawlessly, and it looks
okay, good.
Yeah, and it still looks incredible. And I am always so torn with that campaign because there's so much of it that I objectively love, but it's so hard to love overall. It's so hard. It's like I can't get over the story. I hate the story because it's so up its own ass, and the Highway of Death thing to me is like the most offensive of all of it, and because it just felt very irresponsible, and it being so, I feel like I wish the mechanics in this engine were put in a much more fun game that wasn't about, we want to be real, man, we want to like do like it's this in the headline stuff to make you feel uncomfortable. The only time those uncomfortable parts work is in the go quiet parts, the shut the lights off, go in with the night vision goggles slowly. I feel that's where the tension of that game is at its best. But because that game just tries to like be so controversial and often is like, let's be no Russian all the time. And the problem is that no Russian works because it only happened once. It was a big punch in the gut. And it shows that sometimes less is more with that. And I feel if anything, this makes me excited for the Modern Warfare 2 campaign and what we've seen of it, that they're not being pretentious about it. And not because when the marketing of this game started, from the very moment they're like, we want to make you we want to make you like feel uncomfortable. It's like, to me, like the scene where you play as Kid Farah and that boss fight with that dude like in the house, it's like the intent of that is just it's just gross. You know what? It feels very manipulative, and it's unfortunate that for a game that looks so good, that plays so well, and I finally like turn around a little bit in the mechanics. I feel they added better force feedback with blood, because I like when Call of Duty games highlights a crunchy feeling when a bullet hits an enemy.
That vibration of the controller and the sound.
Yeah, I didn't feel that original. I think they added that recently because I was like, why does the gunplay feel so much more satisfying right now than I played it before? It's probably that. And it has all those great elements, but I feel they just shine better in multiplayer. The campaign is like, it's not one that I can play just for fun, because it just takes itself way too seriously in a bad way. That just makes me appreciate how serious the older Modern Warfare stood themselves, but they knew how to understand that it was still a Michael Bay movie. And I feel that's just the best way for Call of Duty to be. That's why I always prefer Black Ops Cold War. Cold War is a worse game in visuals and mechanics and all of that, but it has fun in its campaign. It pulls you through. And at least I have grown to appreciate the Modern Warfare multiplayer a little bit more because it still plays so well. But then I was still in the shooter mood, and I wanted to. And then when I finished, because I beat the Modern Warfare campaign in 4 hours in a night, in easy. It's like, yeah, this campaign keeps getting shorter by the minute. And I was like, I need something with a little bit more bite. And I was like, oh, what do I have that has bite? Wolfenstein: A New Order. And I went back to that.
Talk about bite. It's got some bite.
And I tell you, it's like, that game looks old right now. It's from 2014 because it also had a PS3 version. So of course the PS4 and Xbox One version was going to be a higher res version of a base model. That game is so freaking phenomenal. It's I was just talking with a friend that I may do like the guy that told I may do like an evergreen recording about Call of Duty. It could eventually happen. So we're still working out the kinks from that. That game is like, it's so old school in the right ways. It just reminds me of that era that we used to have shooters that were meaty and meaningful and long, at least long, not like super long, but it's like they were not just 4 or 5 hour campaigns. This campaign is like it's tuned so well that it's so much fun, and it has bite because it's like, it shows you the gruesome side of what would happen if Nazis had actually won, but it's so tender at times that there's like that game manages an emotional spectrum that in both it and the new Colossus, which I think I'm gonna play through it again afterwards, because I'm like, yeah, I'm being reminded that I really like this, that I feel we don't get in other shooters. It's like Machine Games doesn't get enough credit for what a great campaign this was. And I feel a lot of people just bounced off really early because that first mission, the 1946 mission, it's not that good, but honestly, everything
I really liked it. That was a really strong opening for me, especially in the plane and all that.
And that's the thing for many people, that entrance, that beginning sucks because it takes a long time for you to put a gun in your hand, and it looks very it looks more generic than the rest of the game. That's because everyone has that moment. It's like, oh, this is generic. They had that moment with that first. I don't feel it's as bad as people make it out, because I remember, like, for example, the IGN review that gave it a 7.8, which to me it's insane of a score. This game deserves a 9 at the minimum. Polygon got it right. He and that reviewer has said years down the line that he was too harsh and giving that game that low of a score because of that first mission. Because that rest of the game has just worked so well. There's like something really alluring of the 1960s going through a Europe that has been obliterated by Nazis, and getting to meet Lou Angle, the lady that becomes like the main villain of the second game that haunts you. There's just there's just such great characters. And I tell you, it's like, because I feel based on how Microsoft is treating the Bethesda acquisition and what they did with Starfield, I feel the next Wolfenstein is not going to be on PlayStation. And I tell you, it's I feel I'm going to feel the loss of Machine Games more than I do other stuff from my Bethesda. Because
I think it depends, because if they follow the route that they took with
Youngblood,
then I'm not going to miss them.
And that's the thing, Youngblood wasn't Machine Games. That was done by Arcane Leon. Machine Games just gave them the tech, because Machine Games is currently working on that Indiana Jones game, which we've heard it's probably multi-platform, which is kind of crazy for me.
Oh, that's right.
Remember, we talked about it a few episodes ago, but I can see them be like, yeah, the next Wolfenstein is just gonna be here, and that was sad because I really love those games, and I like the first one more than the second one. There was a time that I preferred the second one, but I feel like this.
Yeah, because they added a lot of cool stuff in the second one that I really liked, but it had so much baggage kind of pulling it down for me. I didn't care nearly as much about the side characters in the second one.
That's the thing. I care
really weird as well.
No, that's the thing. I care more about the characters in the second one because they added some really great ones. Deborah Wilson's also in there, with the big afro, and be like the very hard stance anti-Nazi. There's some really disturbing imagery of you going through Roswell, New Mexico, and seeing the Nazis chilling with the Ku Klux Klan.
Dude, that lives in my head rent free. That whole mission.
Yeah,
oh, gosh.
and then like the whole thing with you going home back to your father and everything that happens in that and it's like the middle section of New Colossus is incredible. The problem with New Colossus is that it's hard AF. That game was it's like they made the story and the characters and a bunch of elements more memorable in a way, but the gameplay side of things took a turn because they put it on the Doom engine, the Doom 2016 engine. So they wanted you to play that game much more quickly because the movement on that Doom, you play Doom Eternal and it's super fast, but they didn't they didn't take into consideration like the ways to offset some of like the quick combat. Like in Doom, you have to be quick, but if you do the glory kills, so you get health,
you just
and
keep things rolling.
Exactly, but there's no way to do that in Wolfenstein. So, and you can't play like a cover shooter either. You can play like a cover shooter from like a Call of Duty stuff because you also get that quicker. So there's like some weird gameplay stuff that makes it like it just makes it not enjoyable if you play it about normal. You have to play kind of like an easy normal for it to feel nice. But I feel everything that makes that game great offsets that gameplay. I feel these two games are so good. And I can play through the other one because I'm in a shooter mood now, and because you also mentioned Bioshock Infinite. I think I'm gonna play through some shooters right now before I muster another style of long game. So
I realized that my biggest problem with playing through single player shooters is that I always used to try to play them the same way, but playing them differently I think has really helped me out. So going back to, if I ever go back to Wolfenstein New Order, I really want to see how like me today is gonna try playing it.
Try playing in stealth. New Order is satisfying as a stealth shooter.
You know who you're talking to with that, right?
But that's the thing, is like it's such easy stealth that it makes it that it makes it so easy with the being able to just, you can throw a knife to the feet and he dies. You can throw that. So
the knife throwing is really fun. That I will agree to that. And like I think they did the axe in the second game.
Yes, it's the axe in the second game, and also the silenced pistol in New Order. It's like so overpowered. And you can like stealth your way like with the silenced pistol also. So definitely give it a try, because there's like some trophies tied to that. I feel I'm gonna platinum it. I was 78% of the trophies done. I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna platinum this game. I love this game. And if you're still on PlayStation and haven't played it, guess what, it's in the PlayStation Plus collection, the extra, the $15 subscription. It's there. They put it there. They didn't put New Colossus for some reason, but New Order is there. If you haven't played it, I definitely highly recommend it, especially if you want to play like a meaty shooter. You don't get single player shooters like this, and I wish Sony would realize that how especially it's gonna be very vacant in the first person shooter side of it with Microsoft gobbling so many of them, and no guarantee that they're gonna give more than Call of Duty and Overwatch right now.
I think like Shadow Warrior might be like one of the last single player shooters out there right now.
And that's also in the extra PS Plus if you need to try it. So yeah, New Order, I can't wait to finish it by next week, because I know it's not that long, but I freaking love that game so much, and highly recommend it, even more now than ever. So Paul, because we recorded very late last week because of all the Summer Gamefest shenanigans and all that, there were less news to work in than usual, but I don't care. So press X.
Get some news.
All right, so number one, Paul. Now that Summer Gamefest and the associated presentations have come and gone, eyes have turned to Gamescom in August for the next batch of announcements. However, the most notable thing about the upcoming event is the number of publishers deciding to opt out of it entirely. As relayed by Video Games Chronicle in a statement issued to German publication Games Wirtschaft, which is a weird name, a spokesperson for the PlayStation firm confirmed it would not attend this year's event, which is due to take place in August and will be its first in-person show since the pandemic back in 2019. other companies, including Nintendo, Activision, Blizzard, and Take-Two Interactive, have said they will not attend Gamescom's return. This will make an interesting case for opening night live maestro Jeff Keighley, who usually tries to get as many pops and depths under one roof to give ample time to show their games in a big stage. And he did that pretty big with last year's opening night live. So what do you think of this? Like,
I mean, I know a lot of people have been saying the ringing the danger bells for Jeff Keighley and his whole process of things, but I feel like people have been saying that
fault. Yeah, it's not his
very
fault
prematurely.
And that's the thing. Like, it's not really his fault. It's just sucky timing. Yeah. Like, ever since we watched the Summer Gamesfest, you were positive about it. I told you I was more torn about it, and after everything was said and done, I thought it was my least favorite of the big showcases from that week. I don't blame Keighley. In fact, I mentioned in our chat yesterday when we were having that debate, Keighley got screwed by State of Play.
Definitely.
Like, imagine if Keighley had been the first one to show gameplay for Street Fighter, had been the first one to show the first official look at Callisto Protocol on top of giving you gameplay, had been the first place to show you the Modern Warfare trailer followed by that gameplay. By him going second, just showing gameplay, it's kind of like what I told you. It's kind of like, oh, cool, it's like a second look of that, but what else you got? Yeah. Is it because it's just see more or something that you would have gotten excited in another showcase? But the fact that those were the two big ones that he had meaty gameplay, setting an expectation that he didn't follow through with the rest of that showcase, and his big mic drop, again being screwed by Sony by leaking the freaking remake 2 hours before the thing. It left his show, it made his show an unfortunate buzz for people that want excitement, because he banked on those big things as a big excitement, and the other things are kind of like what happened with the Microsoft showcase. Many of that stuff was very forgettable, and I feel like this is now the time where we're finally feeling the COVID of it all. Like, if we got games in 2020, 2021, and early 2022, was because these games were already in development. Like in 2018, 2019, halfway through development in 2020. And now we're at the point where now we're seeing the games that were started during that pandemic. So most of those things are not done. And now what does it left Keighley with? Almost nothing. The problem when he's the only big guy in the show, now it's created this weird snowball effect where people are like, you know what? E3 may not have been that bad. But then I'm like, anyone romanticizing E3 after 2019 and 2021, I'm like, that's what I feel sucks about most of this, because this isn't Keighley's fault. At the same time, if you don't really have anything, I think no one would have heard Keighley if Keighley had been like, hey, not this year, we'll come back next year. I feel there's always value in that. Like, if you really don't have a strong thing, maybe not saying anything is better than saying something and maybe not, and maybe underwhelming. And again, not his fault. He's not the one making the games. He's just putting the games. And Take-Two's a big one. He had a bunch of Take-Two stuff last time with Midnight Sun, Saints Row. Activision Blizzard, that's always been a weird one. We're going to talk about them later with something that was unearthed recently. And Nintendo has never been there. But PlayStation gave him Horizon last time, and they gave him Death Stranding also, and they gave him Last of Us Part 1 remake, and they're not gonna be there.
Now,
so,
when is Gamescom supposed to be?
August. It's in August.
Okay, so it's definitely not going to be anything unless they're revealing more stuff with God of War that would have been revealed later this month, as we're hearing.
Exactly, and we're still later this month still hasn't happened. They still have next week to see that pan out. And from Tom Henderson to Jason Schreier, there's been many and Cory Barlog coming back to Twitter,
being sassy as usual.
Yeah, it's such as usual. Can we just talk how great Cory Barlog is? He it's so crazy how God of War made him such a star that he has Kojima energy of. He'll be back on Twitter now. Everyone's like, oh my god.
I'm glad that he's been coming up and doing stuff like that, because I was legitimately worried about what was going to happen later this year. So at least just for the God of War side of it, I'm glad that he's doing things. And as far as for the actual subject of things, I don't think we have anything to worry about for opening night live. I think Jeff Keighley's going to find something to show us. Yeah, it's going to be cool.
To be fair to him, shut up. And because that's the thing, if I compared Summer Gamesfest to opening night live in 2021, opening night live was stronger. So even though Summer Gamesfest had the big Elden Ring trailer that he was being cheeky about for the weeks leading up to it without really confirming it, but that was a big pop for him. And considering how big Elden Ring was, the fact that he revealed it, that was a big thing for him. And he also gave us Death Stranding director's cut there. He gave us Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. I think TMNT was first shown there also, if I remember correctly. So he had much more, like he had a wider variety of things that he announced that stuck up to me last year than he did this year. But again, it was because of timing. Last time he was the first one to go. He has to make sure he's the first one to go, not let like Sony or anyone else come before, because it's just gonna blunt his format of the show. And I would hope that he understands, because people haven't been quiet about their disappointment with Summer Game Fest, like at all. And it's still, to me, absolute shock that the one everyone's happy about was State of Play. But I think that was because it was the first one and it finally gave games worth talking about. Yeah. So State of Play is screwed from here on out, because now they've set up what a great one is for them.
I know. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about that one.
Yeah,
People need to stop talking. That's all.
Yeah, I know. It's let's not romanticize E3 too much, but that's the thing. Like, it would have been great for this Summer Game Fest to be the killing blow. Like, E3 willingly decided to skip this year. So it was like, this could have been a great one too. You know, it's like someone is like playing it safe, and then you come in and deliver the killing blow.
Oh yeah.
Now it's like now the stage is set for both those shows to be there. So weird times, but hoping for the best for opening night live, because I love being excited about new announcements. And I think we're due new announcements for how empty we got stuff looking forward for the rest of this year. I saw that list. If you remember that list, I posted in our chat. It's like, okay, there's at least two things each month, at least for the rest of this year. It's not gonna feel like as momentous as the first half of this year, but remember, a pandemic happened, so it was due to happen. So, number 2, Paul, it would appear the next installment in the Mortal Kombat series is imminent. As relayed by Video Games Chronicle again, on Monday, Andrew Bowen, who portrayed Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat X and Mortal Kombat 11, tweeted a video of himself at the Warner Bros. Studio lot. To the background music of what sounds like Mortal Kombat 2's opening theme, the video's audio says, "Very deadly technique, it's savage combat." Mortal Kombat 11 was last released in April 2019, and while expectations set the studio's next game to be Injustice 3, which was part of the Nvidia leak, it was reported the situation surrounding Warner Brothers and its merger with Discovery and the unknown status of their own gaming studios prompted NetherRealm to move immediately towards a sequel of an IP they owned instead of a game with licenses they could potentially lose if WB were to divest in them.
I actually have a couple of things to say about this, because I follow a guy that does a lot of fighting game content, because they just officially talked about, obviously, the ending of support for Mortal Kombat. Is 11 still 11. The last one they did?
Yeah.
Okay. And they saw an unprecedented success with their DLC characters, because they really branched out into like the Smash Bros style of we're throwing RoboCop and Rambo and Terminator and the Alien and Hellboy and Joker, and it's like you threw all this crap in there and you were like, all right, who's going to be in there next? What is their crazy fatality going to be and stuff? And it generated this whole new wave of hype. So it makes perfect sense that they're like, well, this is WB here, and as we've seen, they have realized now the gold mine of throwing all of their characters together,
multiverses,
to create literally an entire game just about that. That I'm sure they're going to just keep that whole ball rolling, and all they have to do is just keep throwing new characters. I mean, shoot, what was Space Jam 2 was literally about that as well.
Yeah,
they just keep doing it.
It's like we forget what Warner Bros. Actually owns. Warner Bros. It's like Warner Bros. It's like, obviously there's always that talk about the Disney monopoly because of the things that they gobbled, but I feel Warner Bros. Just have a much varied catalog of things. Disney is just Marvel and Star Wars right now.
Healthy about it right now.
But the thing is that it's things that have been bred in-house. Warner Brothers hasn't come and been like, I'm gobbling this, I'm gobbling that. These are all things because Warner Brothers was the studio to foster a bunch of film creativity. That's why they have all these IP under their umbrella. So I would say that Mortal Kombat 12 being like the next thing from NetherRealm makes sense based on that final point, because when Warner Brothers announced we're merging with Discovery, there was that whole talk about them potentially selling off a bunch of their game studios to kind of like offset some debt that they were going to be like, that Discovery was going to be absorbing or something like that. So it makes sense that NetherRealm will be like, Now we're working on Injustice 3 right now, because what would happen if we're doing that and then we're sold off?
Yeah.
Imagine and then having to go through the nightmare of having to license with whoever ends with the DC content for it to work. Like, licensing is a nightmare. Obviously, it worked
Especially
for them being under WWE.
Those characters.
Yeah, exactly. So, Mortal Kombat 11 was really good, especially in the campaign side. It's also in the PS Plus extra / premium if you guys want to play it. It's like the story of that game is like, I think I said it in our Game of the Year talk from like 2020 back then, because this wasn't in my top 10. That was Avengers Endgame Mortal Kombat edition. Like,
yeah, supposedly like including stuff from different timelines and past iterations
and
stuff.
And bring it all together to like conclude the narrative that started back in like MK9, which was basically restarting the timeline from like where MK1 to 3 from like the arcade and SNES era was, and reliving it in like modern times while like tweaking because of the time travel stuff. Those games don't get the credit they deserve in the campaign side. Obviously, there's other fighting games that are probably more mechanically proficient. Like, I know Guilty Gear Strive right now is like the big one in fighting game community. The Dragon Ball Z game, also a very big one. Street Fighter trying to make a comeback after Street Fighter 5 kind of whiffed it. But Mortal Kombat is still like it's been featured more at the Evo. It feels like it's gotten its bones more so like a legit fighting game than before, because before it was the spammy combat game. If you knew how to do the down flip, if you watch the movie, it's so funny that they made reference to that. Sometimes some people can win an entire fight just doing like the freaking backflip.
I forgot they even made a Mortal Kombat movie. Gosh.
And that movie,
several now, but
yeah, several. But that one that came out last year, that's on HBO Max, way better than it deserves credit for. It was really fun.
It's way better than any other of the Mortal Kombat movies.
I'll say
better than a lot of other.
I'll say I have a soft spot for the 1995 one, and I'll fight everyone for that. It's wonderfully cheesy.
Yeah.
And the voice of the guy that plays Shang Tsung in that Mortal Kombat movie is the voice of Shang Tsung in the Mortal Kombat 11 game. So I love that. And you can buy a character pack that makes characters that appear in that movie look like the actors. Like they're Raiden from that 1995 movie. It's so
Raiden.
Raiden with the white hair. I don't remember what the actor's name is.
I can't remember at all, but I know they had to like replace him in the next
Raiden
movie
actor, Mortal Kombat 1995.
But yeah, there's a lot going on. I mean,
Christopher Lambert. Christopher Lambert is the actor.
I'll give it to them for making such a good theme song that like it broke into the mainstream because of it.
Mortal Kombat.
Exactly. During the height of the EDM craze. So anyway, I'm not surprised that Mortal Kombat's coming back for sure, because they hit their stride and they're gonna keep hitting that as long as
if they were on a 2-year cycle with the fighting games, them doing DLC for this one extended Mortal Kombat 11, because it was always 2011 Mortal Kombat 9, 2013 Injustice, 2015 Mortal Kombat X, 2017 Injustice 2, and 2019 Mortal Kombat 11. It's crazy that they hit every 2 years. They were a staple.
That's clockwork. Somebody pulled up like a graph of all of the NetherRealm style fighting games, and so the fact that everyone was like, oh, it's like Mortal Kombat 11's losing support after such a short amount of time. He's like, no, this is like the longest they've done it for a long time.
Exactly.
So it's crazy like how quick that time really passes when you think about it. But I mean, power to them, even though it wasn't really my style of game. They've stood the test of time. And
that's the thing, even if it's not your style of game, playing through the story modes is still like something worth playing. I think that's something that's good about their story modes. So, number 3, Paul, you may laugh at this one. If you're expecting EA-owned developer DICE to work on other projects considering the current state of their flagship Battlefield franchise, think again. As relayed by Video Games Chronicle, from an interview done at Games Industries at this, DICE's new general manager, Rebecca Kutas, has said that the studio has no time to pursue non-Battlefield projects as it looks to establish itself as a leading developer in the FPS market. She mentioned that working in side games like Mirror's Edge is currently totally off the table. She says, "We're only focusing on Battlefield 2042. There is no time for anything else, and this is what we want to do. In 3 years, we want to be the first-person shooter powerhouse that DICE deserves to be. And it is what we're going for. After the current reception of Battlefield 2042, well, good luck with that.
You know what this strikes me as? This strikes me as it's like those moments in The Boys when something really bad happens.
Yep.
And like the PR person is just like,
yeah. Actually,
nothing really happened. It's okay, guys. We promise. We're working really hard together to make a better future. And that's this just isn't it. This ain't it, Chief.
Yeah, this ain't it. Hey, here's what's funny. This interview was done literally a week after Jeff Grubb had reported that he had heard that a skeleton crew is the one maintaining Battlefield right now.
It's like, what are the rest of them doing?
Yeah. and to me, it's like the fact that you just released season 1 with one map and one like, extra operator.
Like 1 or 2 guns or something
and
like that.
And 1 or 2 guns after 6 months after that game originally came out. To me, it's like, I haven't seen, like, I knew, we've talked about it, how it's like, it's unfortunate that Battlefield is now synonymous with broken releases at launch.
Yeah.
2042 is unprecedented. Almost like 4 down. It's like,
I can't believe I'm saying it, but I would rather go back to Battlefield 5.
Many people have. That's what's so funny. More people are playing 5. The one everyone hated. And everyone hated.
We're in a world where Battlefield 5 works better than 2042.
The modern one, the one everyone wanted, the one that they had asked them, please go back to modern times. That's the one they whiffed harder than they've ever whiffed it.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, and I warned you back when we played the beta. You were trying to remain hopeful and cautiously optimistic. You plugged the $70 or however much more money to play it early. I don't remember what it was that you bought.
I don't think I did in the end. I think I was debating it. Yeah, just about the regular. The last one I did that for was Battlefront 2, and I decided I would never do that again.
Yeah, you learned your lesson there.
Oh, I learned my lesson.
But to me, it's just so fun. It's like, in what world do you think, like, with your current output, you want to be a leading developer in the FPS market? Like, that's like being so willfully ignorant of the thing you put out. That
it's funny because they used to be.
Yeah.
And they're like, we want to be that. And I was like, if you hadn't done all of this, you would be.
Yeah, if you hadn't decided we want to fight Call of Duty, when that happened, the Battlefield brand knows that, because Battlefield was riding at the beat of their own drum. They were releasing when they were ready. In summer seasons, they were like March to June releases, and then EA was like, no, we're like taking the war to the Call of Duty franchise, starting with Battlefield 3. And since then, they've always lost. Like it or not, Call of Duty is big for a reason, but it's rare for a Call of Duty to like miss like this. There's ones that you may not like.
Battlefield.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, Call of Duty doesn't miss like Battlefield does.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like even Vanguard last year, which was so mad that it was like such a nothing burger, it was still functional. And the irony, it was the most feature complete of the shooters that came out that year. Even though Halo got the ultimate like hype in that, if you remember, like Halo was the big one in the late year, and now it's like when the dust settled, everyone was like, oh yeah, we probably like jumped the gun a little bit with how this one's being handled. It's like still like Call of Duty was still like so middle of the road, but it sold the most games, and it still basically functioned. Like Battlefield just didn't function. And they already like the hazard, remember the big hazard mode, the big thing that it's already done.
Yeah,
they're already like
just not working on it anymore.
Exactly. It's like that to me is just insane. And they have forever lost the benefit of the doubt that they can release a $70 product that's going to be multiplayer only, and them saying we're like sticking to our strengths. If sticking to your strengths, this is what it means, and this is the product, I'm sorry. Like, you don't get that benefit of the doubt anymore. Not after this many misses. You only got it right with Battlefield 1, and even that one got propped up because people weren't so anti-Infinite Warfare that year, even though Infinite Warfare still was a good game. But that's like the only time they got it right. It's insane. Absolutely insane. And statements like this, I'll just laugh. I'll believe Jeff Grubb in this one because the proof is in the pudding. You can't put out what you have put out in Battlefield 2042 and telling us that's all you're working on. Like, doesn't pass the smell test. Number 4. It would appear that the next number entry of the Final Fantasy series, Final Fantasy 16, will not have an open world per se. In an interview he did with IGN, director Naoki Yoshida confirmed the news, despite saying that recent open world games had provided inspiration for the game. Yoshida said, "We've found in our extensive user research that many of the younger generation of gamers have never played a Final Fantasy or don't have any interest in the series. To create a game that might excite and resonate not only with our core fans, but also with that new generation, we played a lot of games ourselves. And so yes, in Final Fantasy 16, you'll find inspiration from recent AAA open world RPGs," said Yoshida. "However, to bring a story that feels like it spans an entire globe and beyond, we decided to avoid an open world design that limits us to a single open world space and instead focus on an independent area-based game design that can give players a better feel of a truly global scale."
Okay.
Final Fantasy 16 is currently scheduled for summer 2023 release, and it's a console exclusive to the PS5. This sounds like music to my ears.
Yeah. However, this did also immediately make me think of one thing, and that was Dragon Age Inquisition.
No, that was more of an open world.
No, because they had like individual open spaces. That's exactly what they did.
Yeah, independent area based, but they also Dragon Age Inquisition was very open, being like, we're the first fully open world Dragon Age game. So
see, that's funny that they were saying that, because it's not even like an actual open world to them, because there were several independent areas that you could go to. So I could see like maybe this is going to be more focused, rather than like, all right, these are individual places and they're still freaking massive. Which, I mean, I'm fine with. That's basically how the best Final Fantasies kind of were.
Yeah, they find like it's rare to have a Final Fantasy that has been a full open world. The most recent example of one that tried to do that and eventually they had to like leave that was Final Fantasy 15. I think this is in response to that, because there's that big open world at the beginning, and then as soon as you loop to chapter 9, it's like it starts like contracting. So I think that's what what's in reference there, because they felt very chained to that big open space they did in the first part of Final Fantasy 15. In fact, that's the thing that's why that game took so long. And they probably been like, they want to go back to more traditional stuff, that because many Final Fantasies you go through different areas. Even Final Fantasy 7 Remake is not an open world per se, but you get some individual places with side quests that you can explore.
Kind of run around those areas.
Yeah, so I think that's just more fitting for this kind of game. I don't think like they didn't really handle, like, I like Final Fantasy 15 a lot despite itself and its theme of friendship and them like nailing what a brotherhood really is like. That to me is like how much that carries that game. It's insane, because I will never. It's like that review by SkillUp, how to learning to love an awful video game. That's how he called his review. It's like I think that you can objectively say there's so many things in that game, from systems wise and the way like it's designed and structured, that it can be objectively bad, but there's something about it that makes you love it. I don't know what it is. I really don't. And despite itself, I feel like now this game being in the hands of the guy that has made Final Fantasy 14 the best modern Final Fantasy game that people love, like almost unanimously.
Funny that the guy that made the huge RPG open world is like, no, we're not.
It's not really an open world. It's just an MMO. That's the difference. MMO and open worlds are different.
Right.
So, but it's so funny. It's like the guy that really steered, because he didn't make the original version of Final Fantasy 14, the one that was so disastrous they had to like shut it down. Yeah. He came in to save it, and now it's like the most beloved. And him being in charge of 16, I trust his like what they're trying to do, especially if I compare it to 15. So
yeah,
next summer.
I don't think I have anything left, but I'm just glad that we're getting Crisis Core this winter, 6 months this, and then 6 months after that is Rebirth, and that is like a trifecta. A trifecta
of delicious meal for Final Fantasy.
All of which are very different, so it's like you're not even going to get tired of it, because each of them plays very different.
Yeah, because Crisis Core doesn't play like Remake.
Not excuse me, probably closer than whatever 16 would be, but even so, that's going to be a whole year separated. With 16 in between, which is going to play, as we saw, very differently.
Yeah, and thematically different, M-rated, like
more
medieval.
epic Final Fantasy. Goodness.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm all for all of this.
And it's still like people are loving what they're seeing of 16. I'm like, the more I've seen of that after we saw it at State of Play, like seeing more is like, I see why a lot of people were excited. Yeah. Obviously, you had your hang up with like the whole summons thing.
Yeah,
which is like your own personal hang up.
Right. That's going to be a little bit more personal than anything else. But I'm very curious to see this different direction they want to go, and I'm all for more ambition in game development. So let's see what
especially
they got.
with competent directors at the helm. So, none the more us. So number 5 and final story, Paul. If you really loved how the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1+2 remake turned out and we're hoping for similar treatment being done to the next 2 beloved entries in that franchise, you're out of luck. According to Tony Hawk himself, as he said it in a live stream recently, there was a plan in place for a remake for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, the best ones, FYI, but the plan was canned when Activision decided to merge their cream of the top remake studio Vicarious Visions with the disaster that was Blizzard Entertainment at the time. To add salt to the wound, Activision went ahead to its other remaining studios and asked them to pitch what they could do to make this remake happen. But they found the pitches to be unsatisfying compared to the work Vicarious Visions has done. No shit. You that have Vicarious Visions, your best studio, that's not making Call of Duty games, that did a wonderful job and bringing back Crash Bandicoot, like in a way that preserved the original feel and make it look modern. The studio that did some of the best work helping Bungie during its years that were with Activision with some of their expansion content. The guys that made this Tony Hawk Pro Skater remake, because they worked on previous versions of Tony Hawk back in the day. They understood how important feel was to make that thing come back with a coat of paint for it to feel exactly how people remember. And then you decide, oh yeah, they're just going to be part of Activision, of Blizzard now. But hey, other studios, come pitch us. Tell us what you want to do with a Pro Skater 3 and 4. Oh yeah, it's not as good as the studio we just killed to put over in Blizzard. Microsoft can't finish this acquisition enough and fire all those that did this, because it almost reads like parody. This absolutely reads like parody.
It reads like an Onion article for sure. Like the incompetence of people who are like, we have the context of understanding, all right, these are like really good people and they took them off of this process to go to this thing. And then they're like, hey, but we want somebody else to do that kind of work, but they don't understand that you can't just switch out parts like that and get the same results
without the talent.
Oh, it's like almost funny, but the fact that it's actually affecting people's livelihoods and also like a lot of really great stuff that was made, literal art, that's being ruined in the process of all this.
And I hate that this, and you know what I hate most about this? It's this happened because Vicarious Visions was doing such a great work with Diablo 2 Resurrected. I was playing Diablo 2 Resurrected a week or two ago. I still have it there. I put it in because Diablo games are such easy, turn your brain off, just slash loot and keep going. Yeah. They were doing such great work with the Diablo 2 Resurrected because Blizzard used to have a remake team within them that did such a horrible, and I repeat, horrendous, a complete disgrace with Warcraft 3 Reforged that has a 0.6 user rating on Metacritic right now, that has been like supplanted by Diablo Immortal that has 0.4. Blizzard is totally beloved by the gaming community right now, and then Activision decided to put like someone that was doing some great work and be like, now you're gonna be full-time working for them at their possible worst time imaginable, which right now they're in the process of possibly walking out of that hole after the Diablo 4 great presentation they had recently. But it's like, it's just so insane to me. That is like, where did the logic come from? And what sucks, this thing sold. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 was one of the best sellers from that year.
And they still
decided to kill it. And that's why I tell this, like, I'm glad that I have an Xbox Series S on the way, because now it's like, I I don't feel as bad as Microsoft absorbing this and potentially making this exclusive, but man, Microsoft has to come in and reverse course, fire all these idiots into oblivion. Yeah, send them in their golden parachutes.
I really hope they see at least the connection between, hey, this one group was really working on all of this stuff to make it really good, and I can see it. I close my eyes and I can see how they were looking at the spreadsheets and they saw how much money Warzone and all that makes, and they were like, well, these guys do a lot of good work. We'll put the good guys that work good on the good thing that make good money. And that's it. That's all you have to worry about. And then we'll just like fill the gaps with some other people, and that they'll make all the other games. That'll be fine. Mm-hmm. And the fact that like people actually saw that and were thinking, "Yep, looks good to me. Let's go ahead and spend millions of dollars on this whole new process." Mm-hmm. It lights me up, and I will never forget.
And here's the worst part, because like Vicarious Visions, the studio that's in New York, was being headed by Jenny O'Neill. She was someone that was put in charge of like the whole Blizzard thing with Mike Ibarra when J. Allen Brack got fired when he took the fall for the sexual harassment things that happened back in July. And then she left her position almost 3 months later because she was being underpaid, as even though she was a co-lead with Mike Ibarra. And the entire Activision Blizzard lawsuit was because of like the pay gap discrimination between women and men.
Yeah.
It's like, just thinking about it, it's insane. Like, just the disrespect that Activision showed at Vicarious Visions in so many places. Now Vicarious Visions doesn't even exist. When you go to their Twitter is still up, but their last tweet is like, "We thank you all of our fans for supporting us, all of us. Now we're Blizzard Entertainment." So there are just more people, groundwork that was joined to Blizzard, that Vicarious Visions doesn't even exist. And I would love for Microsoft, like Phil Spencer, that he's like, yeah, he can be pretentious about it and all that, but I feel like Phil Spencer at the very least has some good intentions when it comes at least to some video games. And I would hope that please, Phil Spencer, reverse this, like bring back, like, you want content for Game Pass. That's the reason why you are like becoming morally bankrupt and absorbing this company, right? Then take one of, like, reform the studio that could give you some great remaster work that you can put in Game Pass and give you more content, right?
There's one thing I've learned about big bureaucracy in game development is that even though he's like the face of the company that seems like the cool dude, it's like that Ready Player One CEO. It's like, yeah, I like to listen to Duran Duran and chill out and play Atari and stuff. And it's like, okay, buddy, sure. So I don't know. I might be just a little pessimistic in this regard.
And that's the thing. Like, you could have your pessimism rewarded if he doesn't reverse course for this.
Because I feel like it might just be too much work for him to deal with. And he's just going to take the easy way out.
But that's the thing. It's like, the big thing of him absorbing Activision Blizzard, he made it clear. He will own this, and he will be the thing that they report to. So when you're the guy that they report to, you're the one that tells what you want to do. And him, when the Activision Blizzard thing broke earlier this year, and him name dropping many franchises that are dead, it's like, you only do that if you're intending to bring them back, because you'll have because there's the ground power that has been all put in Call of Duty to have that Call of Duty assembly line going. It's already clear Call of Duty is no longer going to be a yearly thing. So that now gives more time to the normal people that usually work on Call of Duty to work on that without having other studios come in and aid just to get that thing out the door. And if you're mentioning those classic franchises, all that IP Activision has buried in their vault because they were so wanting to just keep getting that Call of Duty pie over and over and over and over until it wasn't sustainable anymore, that I believe this is the make or break point for Phil Spencer to prove that he had the best interest at heart for the people working at these studios. I believe there's great talent, there's pent up creativity in the Activision Blizzard side of things, that them being given the freedom to getting to work on other stuff other than just the assembly line. I believe he could make something about, like, it's like, I don't think anyone could do Tony Hawk better than Vicarious Visions, especially with Neversoft having been killed, to become a Call of Duty thing They would never stop. The guys that made the old PS1 Spider-Man games and did the the Neversoft Tony Hawk games up until Proving Ground. And then they died because then they were like, oh yeah, Neversoft is now going to be working support with Call of Duty. And then they killed that studio because it wasn't sustainable.
The graveyard at the foot of Call of Duty is vast and stretches infinitely.
Exactly. High Moon, they gave us the great Transformers game and Deadpool, then became a support studio that it's working on every Call of Duty imaginable. It's like, it's just, that's what I feel that that Phil Spencer has to prove that him as the head of Microsoft Gaming, he's going to reverse a bunch of these things.
It's just that knee-jerk reaction for me. It's like, don't worry, guys. When I have infinite power, I'm sure I will fix all of these problems. And I'm like, sure, buddy.
Exactly.
But I would love to be proven wrong. So,
yeah, and I hope he proves you wrong. But yeah, and I hope he does.
I will eat crow, please.
Yeah.
If you come up with it, I want you to make me eat crow on this story if he fixes it.
Yes.
And I will celebrate
within a year. Within a year's time, because this merger purchase is supposed to end by the end of this month next year.
Okay, so we've got a little bit of time then.
Yeah, there's still an entire time, but people, Xbox fans, stand up, go to Phil Spencer's mentions, keep mentioning him, be like,
keep talking about it,
because that was the big thing when this thing broke. Many people were like tagging Phil Spencer, please reverse this, please reverse this, please prove that you really care about like ever a breadth of content with games, and to give the talented people at Vicarious Visions their own independence back away from Blizzard. Let Blizzard be its own thing, or have the people that are for Vicarious that want to work at Blizzard stay there, because I bet there's some, because they didn't half-ass their Diablo 2 Resurrected port. They did as much great work there as they did with Tony Hawk and they did with Crash.
As we've talked about last week, they put that effort in the right places for what those people wanted, which was a very specific and focused recreation of 2.
Exactly. Being like, leave the thing people love updated visually. And people love it. Like the people who love Diablo 2 love it for that. So play it like, this is not proving, this is the proving ground, pun intended, for
literally
for Phil Spencer when this is done. And hey Phil, I bought an Xbox, so I'm in your side now, so make it right. This Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 was so great. 3, I played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 a lot on PS2. My god, that game was perfect. Bring it back and make the people that did that job well get a chance for this. So really with that, and with that, Paul, we conclude this week's episode. Where can people find you?
As always, y'all can find me at Dork of Art on Twitter. I've got a lot of stuff in the pipeline that should be coming in the next weeks or months. If nothing else, you should at least see some cool pixel art coming from me, and then we'll see what that's attached to in the future. Where can they find you?
They can find me at _Dorsegovia on Twitter for some sick retweets. They can find me at Alejandro Segovia 93 on Instagram, where I post the show and the links for the different episodes. And whenever I do written content, at thecriticalcorner.com. Paul, it's been fun. It's been a pleasure. Hope you have a great rest of your day and week, and I'll see you online. And remember, people, still stay safe, have some fun, play some games, live in positivity. Don't get buried in negativity. You will see some assholes critiquing Kenobi later today.
Don't listen to them.
Don't listen to them. If you enjoy, just enjoy what you love. And remember, press X
to play. Good night, everyone.
See you guys later. Hasta luego.